looks like we're live.
Yay.
Yeah, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another Tuesday drawing stream. It is me,
Drawing.
and for some reason it doesn't want to show my screen. Probably because it's trying to play me ads. Thank you, Twitch. Ah, there we go. Yes, do not sell this man pizza. Bit of a thing from last week. I finally finished Richard Smasher. I'm almost said Dick Smasher, but yeah. It's fun, dumb drawing like I usually do. But gonna be working on it. Wow, filled up real quick. Anyway, I'm joined with Andy today, and we're just gonna be hanging out and stuff. But for today's thing, I'm actually continuing a piece that I've been working on as somewhat of a commission. Some of you might have seen this already. I've been posting it around, but I'm currently working on a original battle mech design for Renton, fellow Legionnaire, called the Lunar Dragon. So that's kind of what I'll be working on. Let me just cue up the music real quick. Alright, nice. I gotta tell you, this thing's been... It's been fun to do, but it's been a challenge, if that makes sense.
You know, things could be both a challenge and a fun.
Yeah. I mean, that tends to happen when I draw mechs. At least, especially when it comes to battle tech. I mean, there's a lot to consider when it comes to robots versus, like... Well, I guess there would be the same with people, too, but...
I mean, the thing about robots is that you don't have to get their feet completely right, you know.
No, but... I mean, and you can also, like, exaggerate stuff with it. I mean, obviously this is exaggerated.
It's like you can't go wrong with drawing monsters, even if it doesn't appear the way you wanted it to, because, you know, they don't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it kind of matters, but that's also because I'm a perfectionist about shit. Like, I've been kind of changing bits of it as I go, you know?
Your own worst critic.
Oh, absolutely. No argument there. But it's like, it's stuff like this, where I just see little details that I want to change, and it's can be nice, because I can touch things up very well, but I also can make me a huge perfectionist. Which is not helped by having obsessive-compulsive disorder. Yeah. But I do have a knack for drawing robots, I'll say that.
Oh, yeah. That's why you should drink plenty of water.
Yes, water.
So if you've been playing any games...
Yeah, just call it manufacturing defects, good point.
Lol.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Say what you've been playing lately.
Honestly, I'm kind of boring because I've mostly just been going hard into RimWorld the past couple months. I mean, I've played a few things, like, you know, a couple games like Kletka, I was trying that out for a bit, that was kind of fun, and a few others, but if there's a game I just want to, like, kick back to and enjoy, it's RimWorld.
Oh,
you know? There's just something about it that really clicks with me. It's like I've played Dwarf Fortress. I enjoy Dwarf Fortress, but it could be a lot, and RimWorld's just like kind of a game I can chill out to. Granted, RimWorld can also be stressful at points, but you know, I guess it's just like easier to manage, you know, because Dwarf Fortress. Let's be honest, Dwarf Fortress can be a lot because it, you know, it's complex, which is great, but it also is a lot to get into. But, you know, once you kind of know what you're doing, you can figure it out from there. It's just, I feel like RimWorld's just like a bit more accessible, which I don't think that's controversial to say. But, what have you been playing? I know you're playing, like, Repo a lot, right?
Yeah, I've been playing Monster Hunter, Repo.
Oh, that's right.
I've started playing Vintage Story with some of the guys.
Now that's like, it looks like Minecraft, but it's like a harder survival game, right?
I almost want to say Minecraft for adults, and when I mean adults, I mean like you actually have to take into account that the winter's coming, and you have to like start storing up supplies and stuff like that.
So there's actually a survival element to that. I like that.
Yeah, like Now, granted, I think the way we're playing is like when you die, you just come back. I don't think you lose too much.
Yeah, no permadeath or anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. Let's see, what is chat saying?
You're not gonna be running forward though and digging straight down for diamonds though, because like they've got some really nasty monsters you can run into real quick that'll just like tear you apart.
I don't know if I've drawn a Furby Pikachu. Oh, 5 minutes is over. Sweet. Fuck.
No!
Oh shit, dude. Alright, where
We're
am
gonna
I?
be put on a list. A list by a big fat man in a red suit. Oh!
I don't want to get hunted by Rob Reiner. This is always
Furby
like the
Pikachu. So the Furby, the body of a Furby with Pikachu ears and a little tail.
Somewhere in one of my sketchbooks is a Pikachu dressed as Scorpion from Mortal Kombat with performing a fatality on Mario.
Lol.
I haven't drawn a Furby Pikachu though. But, you know, always an option for later.
I always thought the Furbies looked like Mogwai from Gremlins.
I think that just turns into critters at that point. Because I feel like a critter is what happens when a Furby and a Mogwai have a baby together.
Critter like the movie Critters, right? The one that like get together in a giant ball.
Yeah, that one.
That series used to scare the shit out of me as a kid, but when I watched it, like when I got older, I'm like, this is funny.
I could have bought a Critters statue that someone made that was like critter sized last weekend if I really wanted to. Because I was at a horror convention. Or wait, no, not last week, the week before.
Yeah.
Last week, that's right, I was just hanging around here doing this.
I was a scared, anxious kid growing up. I was scared of a lot of things. Like I was scared that a graboid would like come under the bed and like pull me down.
Oh yeah, dude, you're preaching to the choir on shit like that. Graboids, that was one that scared me because I thought they were real at first.
They got a lot less scary, like as they go on, because then they became like the raptor ones, and then they became like the ass blasters. It's like at that point,
yeah,
like,
that was just like dark. No. The first Tremors is really the only one you need to watch, I think, because that's the one that really nails it.
I mean, it is funny watching. What is his name, Bert?
Yeah, he kind of becomes like the main character and all of them later.
Watching him is funny, like just I've been preparing for something like this my whole life.
Broken what is it? Broken into the wrong gosh darn rec room? Is that what he says?
I wonder if Tex gets mad watching that or something. It's like that's not what.
No, I think he enjoys watching that scene because that scene is so great. Where it's just like it breaks through the wall of the rec room and they're just like they just get every gun they have and just shoot it. Which,
I would ask though, like those guns are loaded onto walls though, right? And I guess a prepper would be like that.
Yeah, I think a prepper would have loaded guns to be prepared. That seems like a prepper move. Oh, that you're telling me that's on Amazon Rail? I did not know that. Chud is also a good movie, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that new Gundam series. I don't know, it's just weird. I don't... Some of the designs are interesting, it's just weird. I don't know how else to describe it, Like, it's supposed to be like an alternate version of the Universal Century, but the mobile suits look different, and there's Gundams for some reason, and they're all, like, way too detailed in terms of design.
What's it called?
What is it, Gundam... QUX, like a bunch of like U's. I don't even know how you pronounce it. Like woo. That's how I imagine it. Just woo X. But I guess it's on Netflix. I might just.
Oh, it's like GQUX.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like kids having clan battles or some shit is the premise, and I'm just like. I don't know, man.
Turns out
I
they're
always...
playing Gundam Fortnite the whole time.
Shut the fuck up. I don't want to think about Gundam Fortnite. Oh, God. I don't want to talk shit on things on stream, but I just... Fortnite is just one of those things. I'm just like, please no. Like watching the Master Chief doing Fortnite dances because they have him in there just makes me die a little inside. But I guess that is not a bad way to describe it, Gundam Fortnite.
Oh. Char steals the White Gundam along with White Base, and he renames it the Red Gundam.
Slight problem with that. If it's supposed to be an alternative universe, why does the Gundam look like it's from Evangelion? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
It's like, I'm all for, like, exotic, like, designs when it comes to giant robots and things. Like, I love the designs of Iron-Blooded Orphans, which is a great Gundam series if you haven't seen any. It's all self-contained, too, so that you don't have to, like, worry about, like, for instance, with, like, Universal Century, there's a bunch of lore, but, like, those designs are really wicked looking, and they've got some crazy designs to them. I love it.
I like, giant robots and stuff like that, and stompy, blasty, but, like, the horror of war, the horror of war stuff, and, like, people getting popped and all that, and dying horrifically, I can't watch a lot of mecha anime because it's like people die in horrendous ways.
That's why I love Megas XLR, because it's just like you just have a mech suplexing people.
The problem with Mech's XLR though is like sometimes he's doing more damage than the monster.
That's the point.
He doesn't care either.
Do you not remember the one episode where he started a nuclear winter by revving Megas' engine to just like kill the robot that was powered by the sun?
I remember that is a weird looking Gundam. I remember that he created a black hole to kill a guy, and he's like, "I was right, you are evil." And when he gets sucked in, he like creates another one to stop that one.
It sounds like a Megas move.
There was a game that came out. Go ahead.
All the digs at MTV they do with Pop TV.
There was a game for the GameCube. I think it was called like Custom Robo. The Gundam looks a lot like the main robot character from that game.
Which one?
I think Gundams. The main character, the GQX.
Oh yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, no, the Red Gundam, I guess if that's what we're gonna call it, that looks more like Gundam by Evangelion. Which I guess if you like Evangelion, cool, but I'm not a fan of the design. I mean, my favorite mobile suit's the Tallgeese, so that should tell you about my design sensibilities when it comes to giant robots. Stardiver. I'm not sure I know that one. Also, I hope people are going to enjoy watching me draw a mech's foot for the next 5 minutes. Actually, no, it's probably going to be longer than that. This might come as a shock to you, Andy, but I can be very perfectionist, especially when it comes to things like mechs.
Oh. Next, you're going to tell me that you have opinions.
Well, I could talk about my music taste. I was doing that earlier in the aux.
I've been listening to that "Smoking Out the Window" song like over and over.
The one that's sung by Carl Weezer, that version.
I've been listening to the original one, but sometimes I like to listen to the Carl Weezer one because it just sounds so damn hilarious when he's singing.
Oh yeah, it's like I would love to hear Carl sing. Like imagine Carl singing "Dear Mama" by Tupac. That'd be funny. Also. That's the one thing that I'll say. For as much as I get on a soapbox about AI art and stuff, I do enjoy the AI vocal covers because it's like there's no way you're going to be able to get the guy that does Plankton to sing a Tool song. Or maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe
I
he'd
don't
be up for
know.
that. But
If I could get the money together, I'd be like, look, we need you to sing a bunch of Tool stuff. Why? He's like, why? He's like, look, things have been happening on the internet that you don't know about. Like, you just sit him down, you start playing a bunch of, like, the AI songs that people like of him, and he's like, I don't understand.
But Karen, I don't
You don't need to understand, you just need to perform.
His cover, Plankton singing The Pot, is just fucking hilarious. Like, Tool's The Pot. I just love that song so much. God, where was I going before we got into Plankton? Oh, right, music. Yeah, oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Right, music. Yeah, I was talking about some albums that I enjoy. Damn it, now I'm just like getting half distracted by drawing and trying to think of what I want to say. Andy, help me.
Smoking out the window! I always had trouble, like, figuring out which lines should be thinner and which lines should be darker. Like, later on in my drawing, when I was drawing, I was like, the more thicker and solid lines should be, what was it? The, kind of like the background lines, I think, and the more closer forward it would be, the line should be thinner, I think, to give it depth.
Sorry, what'd you say? I was responding to a message.
Like line thickness when drawing.
Oh yeah, that definitely applies to like depth and things. Like, if you'll notice, like I'm trying to make my outer lines more thick as compared to the inner lines, because the thicker lines on the outside definitely help in terms of like the silhouette. I do love doing the greeble work on stuff. Like, I'm literally going to, after I finish this, I'm going to go back over another layer and I'm going to add all the greebly bits.
Gribblies! There's a hobbyist I watch every once in a while called Bill Making Stuff. I might have linked a few of his videos to you. He like use like plastic trash and beads and stuff to make like robots and other weird things. And every March he makes it Big Robot Bash, and he has, you know, that kaiju game I came up with. He kind of has something like that where you roll a d20 on like feet, legs, arms, hands, head, body, and flavor. And then you like build like a big robot based off of that using like plastic toys and stuff like that.
I love the sound of that. That sounds like an awesome game to play.
Oh yeah, like I keep wanting to do it. I'd love to make like a giant like orc kill-a-can or something like that.
Oh, that definitely seems like something you do.
That's what I love about the orcs, is like you just slap shit together and it's...
Yeah, I do kind of like the slapdash thing of it. It's just... I'm sorry, I just find that orc's voice is annoying after a while, but...
I mean, yeah, doing an orc voice would probably be, like, frustrating, but, you know.
Yeah, well, it's like, have you played Brigador at all? Are you familiar with Brigador?
That's that little, like... That's like your little robot running around the city shooting.
Yeah, it's like a mech combat game.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but the one faction in that, the Corvids, I really like. It's essentially like a bunch of street punks that decided to fight back against the authoritarianism by jury-rigging a bunch of weapons together, and I don't mean just like existing weapons. I mean like one of their things is the treehouse, which is literally a monstrosity of cars bolted together that its horn is just all the alarms going off at once. Or the party van, which is a van that's been put on top of tank treads, and the dudes inside just have a bunch of empty Schlitz cans on the dashboard. But I love that shit where it's just, you know, you're just MacGyvering shit together. Like, actually, I kind of, for my setting, that's kind of what the I guess you could call them the rebels. I call them the indies. That's what they do. They basically, they'll jury rig together warships out of what they got. So you'll have like freighters that they've just gutted the cargo bay and just filled it with ship-killing torpedoes, or they've turned a cargo hauler into just a warship by slapping a bunch of weapon pods in the containers and things. Kind of actually like what they did with historical pirate ships or like merchant ships during World War I and II. I always kind of find that stuff interesting when you get stuff that's been sort of repurposed into, like, I guess, like, for lack of a better term, just repurposing the weapons, but just that sort of ingenuity that comes along with, like, you know, how do we modify this thing?
I think if there's one thing that history proves is if you want to see someone, like, try to alter something or make something work, tell them that they can't do it.
Oh, yeah, Spider's a great motivator. I think I've talked about before, I had a professor in college that taught, because I went to school for graphic design, in case people don't know. I might have mentioned it. I've mentioned it on stream before, but still. I had a professor tell me, when I was taking a drawing class, ironically enough, tell me I was not a very good artist, essentially. Because, well, here's the thing. The way that they were teaching us to draw is not how I draw. Like, they were having us, for one, I was not using a Cintiq to draw. I was using a tablet, like
very traditional,
like a traditional like digital tablet. Yeah. For two, we were drawing in Illustrator, which essentially it's just completely vector. Which, you know, for people that don't know what vector is, I'll show you real quick because you can actually do it in Clip Studio. I use it a lot, but you know, vector is essentially you can control a shape or line via points in the line, and you can manipulate those points to do different things the way you want to. It's really useful once you figure it out. But the way that we were drawing with it, we were trying to draw like it was like with traditional cross-hatching and stuff, and it was for like some article or something, and it was just, it was not a project that was very much like me demonstrating my skill set. But he still said that. It's just like that's always kind of stuck with me in a way, I guess. Just one of those things where I'm like, oh, you think that's true, huh? And I can proudly say right now that I don't subscribe to that shit at all anymore, obviously, because look at me right now. I'm on a stream drawing for people. I guess
kicks the door down. We wouldn't have a computer in our pocket. Pulls out cell phone. Well, watch this, bitch!
Oh my god, I love thinking back to
calculator and everything!
That makes me laugh so much, thinking back to all the times in school where I was told that. I'm just like, about that.
Of course, what if you're on a desert island with, like, no internet connection and your phone's dead? You really need to figure out, like, exactly how many pieces you can cut this coconut into with a 6-inch knife blade.
I'm going to be honest, I feel like if you're stuck on a desert island, mathematics is probably the least of your worries.
Ah, man, you need to know just how many scales on each individual fish and how to split them up identically amongst the survivors.
I mean, did you see Tom Hanks in Castaway doing a lot of math? Did he have a protractor?
That's a fucking movie, Crispy. You can't take that as reality.
No, it's certainly not. It's not like there's ever been movies that say based on a true story.
I don't know if it was based on a true story, but okay, he got like sick from drinking the coconut milk, because I remember seeing that. Like, I was told you're not supposed to drink coconut milk. It'll make you.
I don't think you want to. I can't say I'm not really a big fan of coconut, if I'm honest. I'll use it as an ingredient, like it works great in curry, but I'm not gonna just have like coconut candy or something.
My favorite cake is German chocolate cake.
Oh, that sounds great.
And I love those little. Lately, I've been getting those little donuts that have like little sprinkles of roasted coconut on them.
Ah.
Yeah, German chocolate cake.
There's a cake recipe my mom found years ago that she makes. It's a Jello cake, and what I mean by that is it's like it's still a cake. Like it's got like buttercream icing and stuff on it. I think it's buttercream. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not a culinary person, but like essentially it has like Jello and like mixed in with the cake itself, and man, it is so good.
So I've seen these like Jello pies. And this one person, oh god, it's so awesome. They use Jello that's like translucent but blue, and they put like little pieces of candy that look like rocks at the bottom, and then they put like gummy fish that look like they're swimming around in there. They float in the Jello, and so what it looks like a little like diorama of some like fish swimming around. You can cut it up and eat it.
That does sound pretty fun. Man, now I just want some cake.
If I remember correctly, gelatin is like left over from like cooking lots of meat, and like
I think it has something to do with bones. I'm not quite sure.
Like I know, again, like you ever like cook a roast or something, and it's like if you let that gunk like settle down, it becomes Jello-like.
Oh, like at the bottom of the pan. I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it has something. I'm pretty sure it's different from that too. But I think they probably just kept that stuff and like I don't know, probably add some sweets and stuff to it to make it taste better. And like,
man,
here's more food.
It's really hard to listen to this right now after the true crime podcast I was listening to earlier today.
Oh no.
Is pretty bad. I don't want to get into it on stream. If you want to know, just
skeleton.
If you want to go down a rabbit hole of horrible things that happen, go look up the Snowtown murders.
No,
or
that makes me think of what was that movie?
I mean, true crime gets pretty wild at times. It's just like
Alaska. The crap. What was that movie called?
Frozen Ground.
No. I'll remember it later on.
No, not the Terror. That's entirely different. That's the one.
I remember listening to it. The one of the few true crimes I listened to was about what was his name? Johnny Karate. Like this guy was. Like
Quinless says manufacturers produce gelatin by processing animal bones, cartilage, and skin. They may use bodies of cows or fish, for example. Okay, so I was kind of right. There are bones involved.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like in the old days. I think they like kept the drippings and stuff from like when they made roast.
Oh yeah.
They probably sieved it and then like, turned it.
I mean, organ meat's like a whole thing when it comes to culinary stuff. I mean,
one day somebody was just eating like their grains and granola and shit. They decided to pour some milk in there, and they're like, "Hey, this tastes pretty good." And lo and behold, cereal tradition.
I'm thinking of, I'm not sponsored by this place. I just know about it because the one guy if you know what Last Podcast is, the one guy on there talks about this being his favorite restaurant in Atlanta. But there's a place called Holman and Finch that is I think that's the place that has like a horse that's vivisected hanging from the ceiling. But it's like when it comes to like organ meat and stuff, it's like a lot of that. I could probably pass on that. I'm not really a fan of organ meat.
Well, back in the day before we had supermarkets and vast cities and all that, you kind of wanted to keep as much of your food as you could. People are just now starting to keep their bacon grease again.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think that ever went away. I think that's still been a thing. Because, there's like, local grocery stores you can go to around here and get, like, chicken hearts and shit, so...
Well, I'm talking about, like, people keeping their own bacon grease.
Yeah. No, I think canning's kind of coming back in style, and I can totally understand people want to do that. You want to.
Well, from all the shit I gotta throw away, I sometimes wish I had like a little old lady to just give this stuff to, so she can
that's
can it.
that's the thing. It's like how much stuff gets thrown out of supermarkets that's still good.
Like if we had like extra, if they would bother to like extra hands to like sift through it, then we could save a lot. But it's cost analysis basis, and like you only have so many people with so much amount of time who can do so much.
Yeah, I almost kind of wish there was like a non-profit or something that would do that. I know in college,
they'll come pick up stuff if you.
Yeah, in college, one of the things we used to do, because my fraternity, we used to do like service events and things where we'd like do community service and things because that was part of our fraternity. But one of the things we would do is like we'd essentially get the stuff from like the local Wegmans that was still good, but it was like to the point where they wouldn't keep it because of store policy, and we'd like take that to people that needed food, and that was something like we did with the store itself. So
like you get a bag of oranges and one orange is like just absolutely powdered with that green crap.
Yeah.
Like normally if I have time, I break it open and put the good ones in like a $1 bag and put it out. But sometimes you get like a whole bunch of them, and I can't spend the whole day doing that. But
no, I feel you on that.
But there are places, there are like Feeding America, they'll come pick up that stuff for you.
I should have known someone was gonna make a fucking Silence of the Lambs reference when I was talking about organ meat. I mean, I reference that movie way too often for my more so just like the Buffalo Bill scene.
Organ meat or awful, it's probably where the word came from, awful, because it smells bad and tastes bad. But I think it's got a lot of like vitamins and stuff. Like people who live like Alaska and such, when they eat like they have to eat caribou and stuff like that. They sometimes have to eat the organ meat and all that because that's where they get vitamins that are normally missing from like their diet.
Well, man, if we want to get into the Donner Party, no. I'll just say that no, I agree with you on that point. Yeah, there's a lot more nutrition in the organ meat that stays in that meat. So
we have to stream with you where you don't start talking about cannibalism. God damn.
I don't bring it up too often. I don't think. And it's more just like historical context than like, hey, wouldn't it be fun?
I've had liver. I think it's pretty good.
I just don't. I'm not a fan of organ meats myself.
Chicken liver is good, but the chicken liver we have is deep fried, and when you eat it, like my stomach's like, oh, grease, oh.
See, that's the thing. You could deep fry like tree bark, and I would eat it. I love good deep fry. It's like, oh man, I could eat fried chicken like every week, honestly.
I can't eat it too much because after a while, all that grease starts like it feels like
it's gonna like there's a price for Flavor Town, but I'm willing to take the ticket for that ride, even if it means I'm gonna be shitting my brains out.
Let me tell you about the price of Flavor Town. There was a time where I'd get jars of jalapenos and put it on everything.
Oh no.
And it got to a point where I couldn't have jalapenos for a while,
I fell into a burning
ring of fire.
Yeah.
And I
think I've brought up the habanero story on stream before, haven't I?
I think so. Well, yeah. I love putting jalapenos on pepperoni pizza and all my sandwiches.
That I dig. It's like I know Pizza Hut used to do it. Or not Pizza Hut. Papa John's used to do it. I don't know if they still do. And I know local places will do it. But like when they give you those little pepperoncinis, oh man, those are great.
I think Spar as well.
And Spar keeps sending me horribly cursed shit. I'm more concerned about the Furby picture I got. I'm not going to describe it because it's horrific.
I'm like, Spara, you need religion, my friend.
I don't think God can help this boy. Oh man, my wife was just watching the Conjuring series again, and it's just, oh, man.
I gotta rub my kitty's fat belly.
I purposely closed the door so my cat would not wander in, because Pudding is a force of fucking nature and a goblin child.
There he is.
Do you want to know what I had to deal with this morning? Pudding does not know how to drink water, so I had to deal with that this morning. And what I mean is, he likes to paw the water to the point where he just spills it all over the fucking floor.
Listen, I've been alive for 40 years and I've been drinking the whole time water, and I still can't swallow it correctly. Sometimes, the other day I was drinking water and I just like choke on it, like get it down the wrong pipe.
Just like in a fucking airplane. It's like, I have a drinking problem, and he just like can't. He just like spills the water on himself.
Also, I had to go to work without my glasses today. I spent the whole day without my glasses because I couldn't find them. Turns out they were right underneath my tablet, like slightly stuck to them, so that when I picked it up like the 1 inch the first time, they didn't drop off.
I've had to go find my wife's glasses before, and it's just like, it's in the most obvious spot, and I'm just like, oh, honey. Of course, I not to fucking sound like I'm bragging, I guess I kinda am, but I have pretty good eyesight, so it's like,
Yeah.
I get a little bit of a chuckle out of it, but I'm not gonna, obviously, people need glasses, and I'm going to end up with glasses. I know for a fucking fact I'm gonna end up with glasses.
I mean, I got glasses.
Both my parents have glasses. I'm screwed.
They're not that bad. I like glasses. I think they're attractive looking on some people.
I don't know how I would look with glasses. I could probably pull it off. I know I could pull off aviators very well, but...
I mean, you could get LASIK eye surgery, but,
I mean, I guess you could.
I don't know. Have they improved on LASIK eye surgery in the past decade or two? Because what was the percentage of totally going blind from that?
Well, apparently nowadays it's very in and out. Like, you can get it done relatively quickly, and then you just gotta recover for a couple days. It makes sense considering laser technology and things. And
I had a friend who had to wear sunglasses for 2 months. Was it 2 weeks or 2 months? He had to wear sunglasses for a long time. 2
weeks. Yeah, you have to wear the. Apparently nowadays it's you have to wear the sunglasses home and then you sleep. I'm also going off of something Mandalore Gaming said on a podcast, so don't fucking take me as gospel. But
have you noticed how as much as we bitch about hospitals and medicine and all that, have you noticed that more and more certain procedures are oh yeah, just walk in and walk out?
Well, I mean, no, well, that's the thing. It's I think most people just complain about hospitals because of the wait times and things, and just, the normal just rigmarole of going places. And, if you're American, you bitch about insurance, but I am just amazed by, just the health advancements I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I just saw a thing today where apparently they're, making breakthroughs with, preventing Alzheimer's in people, which is amazing. And something I hope they figure out. Quinless, I've been there, man.
Didn't they recently think they found a cure for obesity or something, or diabetes?
I honestly, I would believe that too. It's also another thing too. It's it's insane to see what's been done with CRISPR and things. Just I'm a big fan of transhumanism. At least, ethically. I know there's some people that go way too overboard with that stuff, but, being able to solve a lot of health problems with science and technology, I think is a great thing. And I feel like most people would probably agree with that, because, you obviously want to be able to help people. And, the advances...
I kind of maybe we should study it for, 20 years before we release it on the market. I know it's but we can save lives now. I said, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that aspect to it.
Like zombies or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's going, into waters I don't think we want to tread, but, yeah.
You watch too many movies. Yes, I do watch too many movies.
Yeah. I guess it really depends on the thing, And honestly, there's some stuff that we hear about that's probably been in development for longer than it's been public. It's It's like a lot of technology, for instance. It's like we had smartphone technology for years before it became commercially available, but that's the thing. It wasn't commercially viable.
Yeah.
So it's like I could see the same with medicine.
And to be honest, and I don't mean for this to become a conversation that will dive into what is it, horrors? What was it? What is it that Tesla said?
Man-made horse beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, sometimes I think that maybe we advance technologically faster than we culturally get used to.
Yeah, I could see that being a definite point of conversation.
I mean, we're not used
to multiple ways.
Talking to people all over the world. I mean, geez Louise, the idea of talking to somebody in the United Kingdom 30 years ago, that was you go to school the next day, I talked to a British person here. They're like, no, I was like, yeah, I did it on the internet. And they're like, no, you didn't.
Man, I really don't want to get into certain points of this topic because it could just get into a whole can of worms. But I'll say that the internet is definitely one of the best, and also at the same time one of the worst things we've ever made.
I think it's something that we're starting to kind of have a little bit better understanding about. And
yeah, I think it's more of I don't have a problem with technology advancements, but I think there is definitely a matter of people's restraint when it comes to a lot of these technologies. I think of shit like the Brotherhood of Steel. For as much shit as people give Fallout for, and rightfully so, I do like the one line that Maxon brings up where he gestures around. He's like, all of this happened because mankind's technology outpaced their restraint. So I think there's something to that, as well as in Arcanum, just the line about steam engines the one Dwarf King says, where it's he thought more about what its use is than what are the consequences of its use. But that's also
that sounds like the Jurassic Park line. You spent so much time thinking if you could, you didn't think.
Oh no, it's very much the same thing. It's and I think that's just honestly just been a question of science forever.
Yeah,
Look at look at all the shit about the atomic bomb, for instance. I mean, that's a big example, but I don't know.
I've been it's questions stuff like the development of the brick. You might not think, but then people got big ideas of giant buildings.
Oh yeah.
They started overdeveloping and getting not good work ethics for certain people to build these things and all that. They built so high and things started collapsing and all that. Yeah,
it's kind of one of those things where you find out as you go, and it's not always great. I'm thinking of what was I thinking of just now? Oh right, like oil lamps, for instance, or just oil-based products. Just the whole thing about whale oil and all the hunting that went into that. It's just insane. I was listening to the same podcast that I was talking about earlier. They did a series on a famous shipwreck story that was essentially like Moby Dick in real life, called the Essex, which was a whaling ship that was destroyed by a whale. Long story short, a bunch of dudes survived and essentially had to resort to cannibalism to survive, because that tends to happen. But just the details about all of that, it's just wild how much went into the whaling industry back in the day. So you can definitely see how that transcribes to other sorts of products.
Yeah.
We're getting real into the shit right now.
Well, I hope the whales are starting to get a lot closer to what they were back in the day. But they seem
there's
to
recovery.
be. I've noticed there's been a few videos of humpback whales accidentally swallowing people in kayaks. Well, they don't swallow them. They breach, and they just happen to get them in their mouth. And then
it's like the whale equivalent of having a bug fly into your mouth while you're talking or riding bike.
I don't think actually. I don't
Yeah,
think
that
it's a
makes sense.
humpback. I think a humpback has. It have to be the ones that where their mouths like open up wide, because a humpback
Oh,
has
we
like a
got a
very
water break.
narrow, thin mouth, if I remember. You know what I mean? Like almost like a crab-like mouth. It's like they're the ones that
Yeah.
go down there and eat squid.
Yeah, there was the whole thing about whales attacking like boats recently,
Oh,
but I think that's apparently like a fad is a thing I've heard about it. I don't
those
know.
killer whales, and to be honest, killer whales are like smart enough to where they probably want revenge or something. Like I think one boat like scraped over the calf or something, and the whole pod was like,
Yeah,
okay, fine,
killer
war
whales
it
get
is.
interesting. I mean, there's a whole thing about SeaWorld with their work, is that shit gets crazy when you look into that.
Well, apparently some like dolphin-like creatures and killer whales are. I think they're dolphins more than whales, so they're just really big.
Well, I mean,
Apparently, they can show signs of like kind of signs of psychopath behavior.
yeah, man. Once again, last podcast on the left, they did a series on the horrors of SeaWorld, and my god, the whole thing when it comes to like whales in captivity is like they literally would abduct calves from their pods, and the they get very attached to their mothers, so you'd have like the mama calf just like trailing for miles, essentially crying out the entire time because their calf got stolen.
Yep.
And it's a whole horrible thing that I honestly don't want to get into because it's just depressing as fuck.
It was like on TNT or something back in the day. It was called Orca, and like that was a horrible movie to watch.
I mean, I'm just thinking about like SeaWorld at this point.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to mess with a killer whale. Surprising, I know, but you don't.
You apparently you can't keep like they just can't keep a great white shark in captivity. Like they'll just die.
Yeah, I mean, killer whales don't do much better. They don't last very long. I mean, they can die relatively young compared to the wild in captivity.
Great white. I don't know the specifics, but they just can't seem to keep one in like an aquarium. They're like, I don't know what it is. I do. If I remember correctly, well, sharks are supposed to continuously swim or they'll drown or something, right? Or is that
I mean, I've
like
heard that, but I'm not sure how accurate a statement that is.
I mean, there is that video of that guy flipping over the shark that's like looks like it's attacking him. It's the one that's like get turned.
Oh yeah, get rotated, idiot. I do like that.
Yeah.
That apparently is a way to, or you can also punch a shark in the nose and that'll mess with them to some degree.
I think if you hit them in the gills, they'll probably be like, "Okay, I got to get away from this thing."
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of like dangerous wildlife is it generally will leave you alone. The problem is when it's provoked in one way or another. You know.
Most animals and creatures want to be left alone, but
yeah.
One of the ironic things I've learned is like you don't want animals getting used because that's what causes like accidents and attacks to happen because they get so it's in our and their best interest for them to be afraid of us because
yeah. Well, yeah. Once they're comfortable with humans, you get shit like what happened with the dodo.
Yeah, that and like. You could have a bad bad PR like Jaws, which gave sharks bad PR.
Yeah, that's a big one. Is Jaws really made people afraid of sharks? I mean, my dad is.
I'm not saying you shouldn't be afraid of sharks. They're
well,
they're
obviously
evolved murder machines.
You want to have respect for the ocean, but it's like like my dad saw that movie when he was younger, and he still has like a fear of sharks because of that. And I understand it. Sharks are fucking terrifying, but you also have things like hippos are way more deadly than sharks.
Yeah, but I think we're more likely to. If I went to the ocean right now, that's like not too far from where I live, I'm pretty sure I'm more likely to run into a shark than a hippo. I'm not saying that or zero. I'm just saying.
I'd be very concerned if I went to the beach and there was a hippo.
I will say that if I did run into a hippo out in the Gulf of the Gulf, it'd probably make news.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if it was a hippo of a certain cartel guy. No.
Oh, the Pablo Escobar hippos that are just kind of like there now. We can talk about the Pablo Escobar hippos.
I saw an armadillo on the road, and I wanted to get it off the road, but I didn't want to touch it because I was told that armadillos like carry leprosy or can carry leprosy.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I'm not sure how true that is, but you know, I'm not about to go find out the hard way. It's true.
I mean, I think they can cure leprosy, right?
I think generally nowadays you can with like antibiotics and things. I'm not 100%, but I'd imagine it's very treatable nowadays compared to, you know, back then when it's just like, oh, we're just going to ship you off to this colony so you can just rot to death.
I remember I was telling a lady, like...
Man, perspective is a
motherfucker. Oh, it was a pharmacist, and she asked if I had like a tetanus shot lately, and I said, oh no, and she's like, okay, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to get, 5 shots in the stomach, and she's like, what? I was like, I think,
oh no, they just
back
do
in the
one.
day, you had to get like a battery of shots in the stomach if you had tetanus. I could be wrong. It could be rabies.
It might be rabies. I'm not 100% sure, but you definitely only need 1 shot for tetanus nowadays, and I'm speaking from experience. It'll definitely fuck you up for a day or two. Your shoulder's gonna hurt. You might feel a little bit under the weather, but
side up in here and tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah, let's get Psyduck here for medical advice.
You guys are actively stupid. Yes.
I mean, I was gonna suggest.
Aircraft.
When do we bring out the leeches? That's what I want to know.
I'm sure leeches are still used in some instances.
Oh, they are.
They're good at eating dead flesh and leaving the living flesh alone.
Well, it's maggots too. I forget what exactly. I think leeches are actually used to like help with like thinning blood. I could be wrong about that, but I
think it's like excess blood or like high blood pressure or something like that.
Yeah, something
like in certain areas. Don't take this as,
Yeah, we are not experts, surprisingly.
We're not experts. We probably don't even know what we're doing right here,
I kind of have an idea what I'm going. I was thinking about it earlier on my drive home from work, but it's just like in terms of drawing mechs and things, it's like I don't want to say it's like I guess it's kind of a talent that I have, but I'm able to somewhat just visualize perspective when it comes to this stuff. I'm not saying I'm an expert by any fucking stretch of the imagination. I just, I can draw fairly decently well. But I can kind of tell when something's like right now what I'm doing here. I'm kind of changing the perspective of the leg a little bit because I'm like, yeah, this could probably be, drawn a little bit.
Something as imperial as it is perspective. I don't understand.
Man, perspective is a whole ball game to get into when it comes to drawing.
Alright, General, we built your giant mech robot, and it's ready for field. So how about you put a wolf head on it? What? I want a wolf head on it! Well, I mean, we're ready to start production now, sir. That would take, years of development. I don't want a fucking wolf head on my giant robot! Okay.
Well, this is a dragon. But, yeah. Totem mechs are interesting like that. Oh.
20,000 years where some aliens are looking through the ruins of humanity. They keep finding they find models of Zoids and they're like, we believe the humans went to war with these giant animalmorphic machines, but we can't find actual machines.
I would love that if that's what aliens thought.
Only these crude designs.
Aliens are like, we got way better robots, and we're just like, bet. That looks a lot better than it was.
Clan cadmium platypus.
Ugh.
What's a silly like metal or alloy for a platypus? You know.
Jeez. Clan aluminum platypus. I don't know.
No, Clan Pearl platypus.
Oh, jeez, it's like that Purple People Eater song.
Sodium platypus, zinc platypus.
Sodium platypus sounds like a fucking band name.
Platypus, what are you doing here? What does Clan Pearl Platypus specialize in? They don't know.
Specialize in confusion.
Yeah. They're like the Alpha Legion.
Clan Uranium Platypus. Clan Uranium Dugong, I don't know.
You're gonna go to uranium jail. Yeah, we were talking about Monopoly the other day.
I feel like I remember that conversation.
Monopoly, in Monopoly, you pass go and you get $200.
Yeah.
In today's money, if you pass go, you should get, according to inflation, I think you should get $420,000.
420 blaze it, I guess.
Or was it 2042? It must have been 42,000.
I don't know, man.
20.
Not trying to start a conversation, but just economics just seems like fucking voodoo bullshit half the time.
I would like to see a bunch of people play Monopoly with real money.
I feel like that is going to quickly turn into a murder.
I don't think like actually keep it. Like, I think all the money should go to charity, but I would just like to see all the money, like everything between like $1 bills to like, I don't know, whatever the biggest one that they have in Monopoly is like.
I think it's 500. I'm not sure. I haven't played Monopoly in a long time.
I actually liked playing Monopoly.
I guess I'll just say it wasn't for me. I'm not an economist.
It's all right. We all have different tastes, and it's all right. Got things we do like, we got things we don't like.
I'm having a hard time drawing this lake. That's what I'm doing.
All right.
Well, it's like I was saying, drawing this stuff can be difficult.
You're drawing this completely unique and original design wrong.
Well, you know me, I'm very much a self-critical person, so. Thing is, I'll probably look back on this later and be like, this turned out pretty good, so.
Drawing is like watching sci-fi movies. You're not really supposed to think about it too much.
I guess it depends on the sci-fi movie. I mean, I'm definitely not going to put thought into, like, Critters. Critters counts as a sci-fi movie.
They're from outer space. That's sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're aliens.
Yeah, there's aliens in it. I'd say that counts.
Well, if they came from underground, would it just be fantasy?
Oh, maybe. It depends on... Because Chuds is like... I guess you could kind of say that's sci-fi, because that's like cannibal mutants from radioactive waste.
Technically it's horror.
Oh, yeah, yeah. from.
What if we're the war machine? What if we're the tripods in War of the Worlds?
Well, what if, man? I think that's just Avatar at that point.
Yeah.
AKA Pocahontas in space.
I can't wait till we can like wirelessly transfer power.
That would be pretty sweet if we could figure that out. I mean, that was like Tesla's dream, was like wireless power.
Like we had a whole bunch of solar panels, like I don't know, surrounding the planet. They like
Actually comes up in a Gundam series, which is ironic, which is funnily enough, is the only one that actually uses our version of like a timeline. It uses the BCAD. But they have a whole ring of solar collectors surrounding the Earth. And then, of course, that's Gundam 00. And then, of course, then they decided to bring in like Gundams powered by solar drives. I don't know. I like Gundam 00, but it also gets kind of like into stuff that I'm not really a fan of when it comes to my giant robots. But such is my taste, so.
I just got back from work. I don't want to fucking know how it works. I just want to see it stomp around and beat the shit out of that robot.
I mean, definitely. It's funny, as much as Gundam is anti-war, they are known for their fight scenes very well.
I don't care if the bad guy has a redeemable backstory that makes me feel sorry for him. I want to see him get his face punched in.
Oh, absolutely. No, we're not building pylons. When I played StarCraft, it was Terrans, so. But I also didn't really play a lot of StarCraft. I was more a Command and Conquer guy. Kane lives. Yeah. Starting to come together. Well, I mean, it's been coming together, but it's really... there was stuff about this I was honestly, like, thinking about today while I was at work, just like, how am I going to draw that? And glad to say that it's coming along pretty decent. Like I said, I get too critical of my own work sometimes, but such is the life of an artist. Oh god, I'm zooming out way too far.
I went to a game exchange and they had like this massive wall of Gundam models, and I was like, I was asking if they had like one particular Gundam, and they're like, "Oh, we don't keep a record of our inventory of the Gundams," and I'm like, "Oh."
What?
Part of me was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
It really doesn't. Like, why would you not? First of all, why would you not keep inventory of any of the things you're selling? Period. I feel like I'm not a business management person, but I feel like that's something you want. Secondly, you know, like, why Gundam specifically, or is it just like a general thing? I don't know.
Well, it was a game exchange, like a bunch of used games, and
oh, so it's probably just like they were just there as like
dedicated to, like, weeb shit.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
God, I'm just thinking about the one store that opened not terribly far from where I live, and my sister-in-law was like, "Oh man, I think you and your wife would love this if we go there." And it's just like 90% Funko Pops, and I'm just like, "Oh god."
Funko Pops is like the current
Beanie
Baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Except I think I'd rather have the Beanie Babies. At least you can cuddle a Beanie Baby. Good luck doing that with a Funko Pop.
can, but
I mean, I don't. It doesn't sound pleasant.
it was like that baby monkey that grew up with like the wire mesh mom.
Oh, the mommy, the monkey mother milk machine experiment.
Yeah, like they'd scare it and it would run to the wire mesh monkey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing behind that too. It's like that kind of shows how. And oh god, I'm not a psychologist when I'm saying this. This is just going off of like stuff I've heard, but it's just like that whole thing was like showing how the first couple months of a child's life are very important for their development. You know, yeah. It's why you want to make sure that you, when you have a kid, to, you know, show them love and like, you know, obviously give them like parental attention, because again, dipping my toe back in true crime for a second, a lot of times when that doesn't happen, it can cause some problems. Problems that tend to end up on like Dateline.
Tonight on Nightline. God, like, I kind of want to start watching some Unsolved Mysteries now. Like, I missed that.
Oh, well, Unsolved Mysteries is great.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries. Was this woman abducted by aliens? Or did she have a bad dream after drinking too many pina coladas?
I mean, you can have both. I feel like you can get hammered and get abducted by aliens. They're probably going to go for the drunk people anyway, because it's like, who's going to believe you?
Why did you abduct this woman? We wanted to find the worm.
We had tequila, and we could not find the worm. Aliens are coming here for our fucking discount tequila. I would love that as an alien encounter. Just a bunch of fucking grays showing up to a wine and spirits store.
I sometimes joke that, like, Roswell, the reason they crashed was because they're, like, aliens aren't supposed to come to Earth, but, you know, when you tell certain people they can't do something, the ones that are like, I'll do what I want, especially when I'm drunk.
Oh, I would not doubt that could be a reason for Roswell, because there's always, like, you know, it's like, I know where I'm going, I don't need to see the map.
Why do these aliens have a high alcohol content in their bloodstream? It must be essential to their life.
I would love to see a fucking traffic stop with a flying saucer where it's a DUI. I don't care if we have to make that ourselves. I want to see that shit. Galactic. Yeah, they pull a flying saucer over and it's playing the fucking Beastie Boys. It's like intergalactic.
Tell Brooklyn!
Love the Beastie Boys. God, mech fingers are so.
What do you think about the theory that aliens only come here to steal our water?
Well, I question that because water is probably one of the most abundant resources in the universe in space, because, you know, you can just mine a comet.
Oh, ice, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of subscribe more to the theory that, because, I mean, there is, when you look at the upticks of UFO sightings, they spiked very much after the Trinity atomic tests. In fact, there is a famous, well, actually, it's not really that famous now that I think about it. There's a UFO incident called the Trinity crash that happened around that area, that happened right after the Trinity atomic tests. These two boys apparently saw a UFO landed on the ground, and it's like a whole thing. But if we're I'm not gonna say what UFOs are one way or the other. I try to kind of keep it, you know, not one specific thing, because I don't know. Nobody knows. Well, somebody might know, but they're not telling us. But I don't pretend to, like, say I know this shit. I'm more fascinated in it anyway. It's just an interesting thing to think about. But if it is actual crafts with actual beings showing up here, I honestly would not be surprised if part of the reason for that is, like, once we split the atom, that got us, like, it's like in Star Trek when they develop a warp drive, you know, that got us sort of attention from the rest of the universe.
Yeah, what if like the galactic like union was like, and on this planet we believe that we have gotten readings of atomics being used within atmosphere, and it made like their news.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Well, I
okay,
think
so we think that these apes on this planet have started like developing nuclear weapons. So like, don't go here because they don't have FTL yet. And of course, like I
yeah.
said, you tell someone not to do something, and like you're going to have the like, let's go to Earth. It hasn't been contaminated by neoscience and all
Well,
that.
there's
It's
also
all
the
beautiful.
idea that the aliens are actually here for us. If you get into certain abductions, it's like they want to create like human hybrids and shit. But you know.
Yeah.
Oh, so I hope everyone's taking a drink now that we're talking about aliens again. Drink
I
some
kind of like
water,
the idea.
probably.
I kind of want them to be like sightseers and like drunken frat boys.
Oh no, I would absolutely love it if they're coming to Earth for our fucking tchotchkes.
They're not
That would
coming
be
for
the
our
funniest
beer.
shit.
They're like zipping by. Like they're like, hey, look at the the
They've come,
mammals.
they've come for our IPAs.
They're like, we're gonna go in their atmosphere. We're not supposed to. And oh shit, our ship. Oh fuck!
If there's intelligent life in the galaxy, I absolutely think there's definitely just fucking
If there's
local
intelligent
yokels that
life
are
in the galaxy, then there's also stupid life in the galaxy. And you know what
exactly. There's definitely for every intelligent alien, there's definitely like the we're on spring break Euro trip type aliens that are just like
Spring break UFO.
we've heard of this Vanga bus and we wish to party. Once again, hands are difficult, so if they don't look right, I apologize.
Eh.
Well, going back to the bingo card of things I've said this stream, you know how critical I can be.
I remember in the Betty and Barney Hill one, like they're talking about like they were fascinated with the zipper on her dress, like.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's. Oh man. I mean, that's the whole thing. There's certain encounters that get very psychedelic, I guess in a sense, I think they call it high strangeness, which
Oh yeah.
is kind of funny when you think about it. But I mean, there's
I
something
don't know, I think
to
it's funny,
that.
like
There's another UFO story called the Andreessen Affair that happened where this lady, she got abducted by aliens, but she kind of went willingly, and she was this like stay-at-home mom who was, I think she was like Lutheran or something. Essentially, she was not the kind of person that would just like make stuff up necessarily, and just the stuff that she gets into with her encounter, at least that specific encounter, it gets very interesting if you're like open to that sort of thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah, there are some where like. There are some where, like, the abductees are like, hey, can I come with you guys? And they're like,
yeah.
no.
Well, that was the whole thing about the Travis Walton, like, the fire in the sky thing. Like, he was trying to get into the UFO because he was like, he wanted to go on a ride in the UFO, and he was like, let's go get my brother. Like, Travis Walton was very much into UFOs before that whole thing happened.
God, the human, he just won't shut up.
And as well with that story, I think even he said that the reason he thinks he was taken by the UFO was because he was injured by... Because according to him and the other witnesses, like, he was launched backwards and injured by whatever the engine was that was powering the UFO. So he thinks that the reason that he was taken aboard the alien ship was to be healed by the aliens, because they were like, oh fuck, we've like hit a gear, essentially.
Did you just hurt a local? Yeah. Oh shit, we're not supposed to be here. Fuck, what
Shit,
do we do?
man, we don't have insurance.
Bring him on a ship and fix him or something. Oh god.
I'm tweaking out, man. I took too many shrooms.
Look, human, don't tell him we were here. We're not supposed to be here, okay? We're gonna fix you up. We're gonna
Andy,
like
save this. I think we've got a movie we need to make. They're here to steal our Carhartts. You know what? Honestly, Carhartts are pretty baller, so I wouldn't blame the aliens if they're coming for our Carhartts.
They're coming for our Cadillac converters.
Yeah. You know, it's actually kind of funny that you bring up like aliens and like wardrobe. It's kind of changed over the years in terms of like what people have reported during abductions, because you know, like the Andreessen affair that I brought up, they were like dressed in essentially the sorts of spacesuits like the 50s astronauts wore, like the chrome like foil suits. And there's older accounts where they're sort of like, what's the great Gazoo from the Flintstones, where they're just like green with pointy features and things. And then, you know, now kind of the modern day, we kind of have the grays that are essentially just freeballing it, and they're just nude the entire time.
Some believe that the Greys are like cyborgs or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that too, where they're sort of like bio robots that are essentially puppeted by a different intelligence, which, you know, that's an interesting look at it. I could kind of see that, but I think the one thing, and this kind of goes back to the Andreessen affair, is like, you know, what if the reason that, you know, this stuff changes and people see similar things is just sort of like it's sort of plugging into part of our brain that we don't understand, and it's more like them just trying to make a connection to, like, whatever these things are, is them kind of trying to make a connection to us in our own brains, and this is sort of like what we see may not be what's actually there. It's just like,
what's that guy that kept showing up that was like, it's like he was talking to me, but his lips weren't moving, but I could hear him talking. What's his name?
Is it Injured Cole?
Yeah, Injured Cole thing. It's like, you know, I'm projecting to you what would make you comfortable.
Well, another one I think of too, it's like, you know, the idea of the Men in Black. Like, you know, most people probably think of, obviously, like the movie, but that's a phenomenon that's apparently gone back a long time. As far back as, like, witch hunt era, there's people that kind of have found things reported by people that were like under duress for like, or just like people that said they saw, either because they were being like tried as witches or whatever, but just beings that kind of match that description. And it's one of those things that's, you know, you could kind of take it however you want to, but it's just interesting to see these sorts of things that sort of have similarities pop up through history, you know, where it's, you know, it's like, what sorts of stuff has mankind seen in its history that keeps repeating that we don't understand, you know?
Well, you know, it could be that whole, like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, you know? It's like...
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's
part
like
of
the
it
dragons,
too.
you know? It's like all these cultures that have almost never had any connection with each other. They have, like, almost the same exact description of, like, dragons and shit and stuff like that. It's like...
Or like how every culture, one way or another, have figured out the bow and arrow.
Yeah, or how every culture has some form of a vampire, you know, a blood-sucking or life-stealing undead thing that has to...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that kind of plays into the idea of the collective unconscious, which I think that's another fascinating idea. It's just the idea that, from my very basic understanding of it, my idea of the collective unconscious is it's essentially, you know, it's a part of human psyche that we all share, but we don't, it's subconscious, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like a latent psionic connection, I guess, if you want to get into like sci-fi tropes and stuff. But it's just one of those interesting things to think about, because it's just interesting to see the parallels different cultures draw on each other while not having interacted. Or just how things that happen
it could be like
affect us.
Remedial stuff from like all the eons that we've been alive, our species have been alive, and
100%. I mean, that honestly might be part of it too. It's just, you know, it's just like a sort of shared collective knowledge. I don't know. I'm sure there's probably some people that probably think I'm just kind of crazy or just smoking something just talking about this stuff, but it genuinely does fascinate me, because it's like, you know, not to disparage any sort of science by any stretch of the imagination. I fully support, you know, any sorts of scientific endeavors, but there's just some stuff that I feel is kind of treated a little bit too stringently, and that might deserve more exploration in one way or another. How you do that, I can't say. I'm not an expert. But it's just, there's just some things that you see universally that people run into, and it's just interesting because it's things that can't necessarily be explained away by just, people are crazy or just one reason or another. That definitely happens in a lot of instances, don't get me wrong. I'm fully willing to be a skeptic on shit, but there's just sometimes when you run across cases that people run into where it just makes you think, Just one of those things.
Just one of those days.
That would be the worst UFO encounter. You just wake up on a table and it's Fred Durst and the rest of Limp Bizkit as Greys. Just one of those Greys!
All the aliens are wearing like baggy pants and like big dog shirts. And
start screaming like, "Take me back! I don't want to listen to nu metal! You guys suck chords, the better nu metal band!"
Like in 50 years, people are gonna be like, "Yeah, the aliens abducted me," and they're saying like "drizzle mazizzles" and shit like that.
I don't want to think about the idea of a bunch of Greys saying "skibbity toilet" to people.
Yeah.
Skibbity toilet, skibbity toilet, skibbity toilet.
Are there historical constraints? I don't know. That's I could get into some interesting territory personally, but I don't know.
What if like an alien? What if you get abducted and there's like a council of aliens surrounding you, and then they point at a screen and Baby Shark starts playing? They're like, "What do you have to say for yourselves?"
I would think that I'm like either dreaming or I'm tripping balls somehow, because if I saw a flash of light and I woke up and I was on a spaceship and I just had a bunch of aliens just point to a screen and Baby Shark started playing, I'd be like, I don't remember taking mushrooms last night, but here we are. Like, I would just be like, I would be questioning reality. But that's the thing, it's like some people have had encounters that just get into like that Looney Tunes type shit, and it's just weird, And there's definitely...
I like this different one, because like, that'd be funny if like, that's the one bit of technology that we figured out that the aliens couldn't. It's like, what is this?
Have you ever heard
it's
of this?
like interlocking metal segments. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the... It's funny you mention that, because like, supposedly, and I say supposedly because, again, don't know for sure, from what samples have been supposedly recovered from, UFO crashes and things, if we're going off of that, apparently a lot of them just use metals that we know. The thing that's interesting about them, that people say, is that the way that they're structured is beyond what we're capable of manufacturing. Because... And this is just a little bit of aside. One of the electives I took was a metallurgy class, so, and it was just a elective class, so I'm not claiming to be an expert in things. But what I did learn is just about how metals are manipulated, and how there's always defects and things in metal, regardless of how much you refine it, because that's just the nature of how we make, refined metal and sort of form it and things. But apparently, like, a lot of this metal doesn't have that. So it's just, like, it's assembled almost at, like, the molecular level. It's just interesting.
Imagine what we'll get when we can start, like, reliably 3D printing, like, metal structures and all that.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing that I think about, too. It's like, and it's funny, because, in college, I played with some friends in a Riffs game, and we got kind of into that where it's just like this. My friend that was running the game had a character who I think he had like a molecular, like he was part of a group, like a race of people that could assemble stuff at the molecular level. So he had like an indestructible motorbike and things because the way that it was structured atomically made it so it was just basically indestructible. Which, welcome to Riffs. This shit gets weird. But stuff like that I find like really interesting, I don't know how you do that. You'd obviously need some really crazy sorts of technology to make that work, but I think you're right. Like, I wouldn't necessarily even say it's like 3D printing, although I definitely think that there's a lot of really interesting stuff we can do with that. Side note, I think it's called Martia, but there's this concept for like a 3D printed Martian habitat that was selected in a contest with the one university. Oh, is there a lag? I'm sorry, guys. Stream might be kind of bugging. Also, Blue 7. This is actually a custom clan totem mech. It's called the Lunar Dragon. It's for Renton, who is one of my fellow BPL friends, and it's essentially like a dragon mech. So it does look like a Jade Falcon mech because I have referenced a good number of their designs for this because they have a thing for winged mechs. And I'll say this much: designing a custom designed battle mech can be challenging. Like visually, I mean, you cannot, just making a sheet. That's something you can do. I mean, that's where this started, was like a mech design sheet. But like actually figuring out the design can get really interesting because, like with a lot of this, I was looking at different examples of, what. I had a vague idea of what I wanted it to look like in my head, but I was just kind of like looking at different designs and things. Honestly, the most tricky part for me to figure out for this was the head of it, because one of the things that Renton wants with this is they want it to have a pulse laser in the mouth, which you can kind of see in the sketch here. I haven't gotten around to drawing it yet, mostly because I'm trying to figure out how I want to greeble that. But I wanted a design that looked like a dragon, but it wasn't like it wasn't like a Megazord, or I guess if we're going for more of a BattleTech theme reference, it wasn't like a proto-mech, like the older proto-mech design. Some of them anyway. There's some interesting designs, but a lot of them, yeah, they can get a little goofy. So a lot of it was just... Yeah, a lot of it was just kind of me playing around with different head designs for it to just see something I liked. I actually did look at a bunch of Zoid stuff for this, funny enough. But I'd say I got it to a point that I like. Although some people seem to think it's a wolf's head, which it's not. I might need to add some details for that, but... Yeah, most of the design I kind of had in mind. It was just more like, how do I do the head for this without making it look too goofy, Thank you, I appreciate that. Line work is something that I've honestly practiced a lot trying to get good at, because there was a lot of artists I followed growing up who had some really incredible line work, and a lot of it honestly was digital, and at the time I didn't realize like how much that played into the crispness of their line work, but it's just always kind of been a driving thing for me to like get really nice looking line work. Also, I think, my love of cartoons kind of played into that as well. And I have done traditional line work. Granted, I've touched it up in Photoshop, but that can get into a whole involved process. I have a friend of mine who's a comic artist that he does a lot of traditional stuff. And he showed me some things or two, and, I've seen plenty of his work. But that can get very, very involved when it comes to doing traditional line art. And it's not even just necessarily drawing the lines and stuff. It's just like one of the things that he showed me that I use when I do traditional lines is there's these gel pens you can get at Michael's, these like white colored gel pens, and what he uses those for is for like touch-up work. So if there's lines that he's kind of overextended or wants to kind of touch up, he'll just go over it with that. And granted, you can see it on the original piece where it's touched up, but if you scan that into a computer and touch it up in there, like what I've done with digital work and what he's done with digital work, you won't see it there. So, that definitely helps if you start traditional and you want to take it to digital, which I think is a good way to do it. That's a good way of kind of touching up your lines and things. But yeah, line work is one of those things that have really been kind of a focus, I guess, for me. You see artists like a lot of the cartoons and Cartoon Network and stuff I watched growing up really played into that. Nice. It's funny, Ether. I did look a lot at the Shrike for that, as well as the Jade Hawk. So it is kind of Jade Falcon inspired, but. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Blue 7, and honestly, I totally get having that kind of beaten out of you with graphic design, because I went to school for graphic design, and that definitely was, it was difficult. I'm sure you could kind of empathize with some of that stuff. But, drawing is always something that's kind of meant a lot to me. Maybe it's just for me being like an autistic kid and stuff, but it was just like a way for me to kind of express myself, I guess you could say. I do hope you find a chance to get back into drawing yourself. I encourage everyone to draw and make stuff. I think creativity is something that doesn't get enough value in our society. We live in a society. But I think there's a lot of value that goes into that we kind of take for granted, especially in this day and age where you can just kind of type words into a computer program and it just does the work for you. But there's really a lot that goes into it. To be honest, and this might be a little bit corny to sounding, but I kind of see it as almost a sort of magic. And I don't mean that in like the sense of like Harry Potter. It's more of like, I guess sort of like the idea of ritual magic that's been like more of an occult sense. That doesn't make it sound good, but what I mean by that is like when it comes to creating stuff, whether it's drawing or any other art medium, there is very much like an intent that goes into it. There's very much a process that goes into it, and it's something that you have to learn on your own. You can definitely take classes for it, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I learned a lot from my graphic design major that helps me with this, but like how you apply that stuff really is kind of like something you have to figure out for yourself, Like there's techniques I use here that I definitely learned in school, but there's techniques that I've just kind of picked up going along the way, and it's very much a process. Like I'm never going to say I'm not learning when it comes to drawing, because I always am. And I think that's true of any art form. But there's just something to that ability to just kind of create something out of nothing that I find really powerful,
Imagine what you'd be drawing on cave walls.
Oh man, I'd be having fun with that shit. I mean, I've definitely done like goofy. I don't want to say goofy. I've definitely done stuff like that where it could definitely be like cave painting.
Did Cook eat those mushrooms again? Yes. Is he putting black paint on the walls again? Yes.
Somewhere I do have a sketchbook that's definitely filled with like stoned drawings from college. Looking at it now, it'd probably be like incomprehensible garbage, but
You drew a picture that looks like a man in a spaceship.
I do that a lot. It's like, do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Oh damn, it's getting towards the end of stream here. I didn't even notice. It's time flies when you're having fun. It also is kind of funny because it's like I looked at this drawing. You look at this drawing. You might look at this drawing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of projecting here, but you look at a drawing like this, and this is probably true of like a lot of cartoons as well, and you think, oh, that doesn't look like it'd take a while to draw, but you'd be surprised at just how much thought and effort can go into something. Any tips for exposing your art to public audiences? Honestly, what's worked for me is just kind of don't be afraid to show your art to people. Don't be afraid to talk about what you do. I've honestly gotten my foot in the door more from just being like, hey, do you want to see my work? Being in this community, I think, helps a lot with that. Like, it's a very opening community, and I will say that ever since I've joined here, it's been a very positive experience in terms of inspiring me creatively. Because before I joined the Ox and later the BPL, I was very much lacking in a lot of self-confidence for what I did. I was very, like, I knew I could draw, but I was just like, I don't think I'm, like, good enough to do the things that I want to do. But doing stuff for, like, just doing stuff on my own, and then, like, I had people ask me, like, hey, can you make this thing for me? And that just kind of, like, went from there, And it really, it's not hyperbole when I say it's, like, changed my life for the better. But, you know, in terms of, like, getting your own work out there, I would say don't be afraid to show people your work. Don't be afraid to try different things. Don't be afraid, like, you know, if you want to do commissions and things, for example, obviously, you have your own preferences for things. I'm not saying don't be open to everything. But, you know, don't be afraid to, like, try new stuff. Like, I didn't really draw, like, I drew plenty of robots and stuff, but I never really got, like, super detailed into battle mechs and things until I started doing Battletech stuff for people. So, I would say that, you know, don't be afraid to challenge yourself, and, you know, most of all, don't be afraid to, like, stick by your guns on stuff. Like, if you believe in the thing that you're doing and how you want to do it, like, stick to that. Don't let trends and things pressure you into doing stuff. You know, you'll find your audience if you just stick to what you want to do and do it honestly. I firmly believe that. I mean, I'd say that's why most of us are here. Want to see my etchings? I don't actually think I ever did a lot of etching. I did more ceramic stuff in college. That was pretty fun. I'd love to get back into doing ceramics, but that's a lot to set up. I don't have a kiln, for example. Yeah, that's honestly the big thing about it. I mean, there's ways to do it in, like, a trash can, but I get the feeling that my complex would not like me just being out on the lawn with, like, a trash can full of burning paper sticking stuff into it.
I don't know about that. Mom was into ceramics. She had her own kiln.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to have a kiln, but yeah, those are expensive, and it's like you need a place for it and everything, and I don't really have the space for it. Yeah, it can be. And honestly, now that I think about it, I'm not sure where I would get clay. I'm not sure if Michael still carries or not. I think they used to, but yeah, it's one of those things I'd like to pick up again one day. Ceramics can be a lot of fun. I mean, if anyone's played with, like, plasticine clay and stuff, you know what I mean.
You want to have a ghost moment where you're sitting there at the flywheel.
The last time I did, like, pottery on a wheel, it was something my wife and I did for our I think it was our anniversary, or like the anniversary of when I, like, asked her to be my girlfriend and stuff. But it was we did, like, a couples ceramics thing, and it was a lot of fun. But it was funny because, like, the guy that was teaching the class, like, saw me, like, man, you've got some big hands, and I'm just like, I know, it's making it very difficult to spin this shit. Because I do have some meaty mittens.
We have a local folklore healer called George Orr. He was a ceramist called, like, the Mad Potter.
Oh, that sounds great.
When his like ceramics would, like, fall apart or, like, you know, plop over, you know, like they do sometimes. Yeah. He'd get mad and just fire them anyway.
Honestly, yeah. Sometimes you gotta do that. Also, yeah, I definitely agree with you, Blue 7. Typography is, like, a whole thing in and of itself. I mean, and it's more involved than I think most people necessarily know, because the thing about when it comes to typography and design, you're not just considering, like, the spacing of type and everything, you also can consider, like, the shape that the type makes with the individual letters, as well as, like, the paragraphs and things, and just how it, like, there's a lot of shape and form thought that can go into that you don't necessarily realize. I mean, I think one of the best examples of that is go look up the Baskin-Robbins logo, because in the Baskin-Robbins logo, part of the B and the R are a different color than the others, and it says 31, and the reason it says that is because it's 31 flavors of Baskin-Robbins. So that's kind of like a sneaky little thing they put in there. Or like the FedEx logo, for example. That's another one where in between the E and the X is an arrow, and that's on purpose. You know, showing it like we'll send it anywhere kind of dealio. Honestly, I think it'd be before a boring stream, but I wouldn't mind doing something typography related if I could figure it out. Oh, logo design is huge. Like, that is a field into it of itself. And there's plenty of good logos. There's also plenty of bad logos. Well, I'll say this is definitely going better than I honestly thought today was going to go. I thought I'd be kind of fiddling with stuff a lot more, but I'm glad I'm making some pretty good progress on this.
Now, how long? Not to be rude, but like we got like another 40 minutes, right?
We got like another 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I knew I was not going to finish this today. I figured I was going to at least get to most of the line art done, at least to the point where I felt like doing detail work. If you're going to ask like how long this took, geez, I think I started sketching this out on Saturday and into Sunday. Or I started sketching it out on Saturday, and then Sunday I spent like a good chunk of time working on it. So it's definitely taken me at least over 6 hours to get to this point. Of course, that's a lot of me like going back and tweaking stuff, which doesn't always happen when I draw. You know, this in particular it is because it's a custom mech design that I'm kind of trying to get looking right, like it fits in BattleTech, while at the same time making something different and interesting. So. And I do kind of like that people compared it to Jade Falcon mix, because that kind of shows it's like it fits, and it could be a little bit of an interesting lore thing where it could be derived from Jade Falcon designs.
Kind of makes me think of like a Black Knight and I don't know, something that Jade Falcon would.
Yeah, it does have a bit of the Black Knight look to it now that you mention it, and I do love the Black Knight, so you know. That is one of my... My Black Knight's definitely... I want to say it's one of my favorite heavy designs. I mean, it's not my favorite mech, but I definitely dig the design. I love the look of it for sure. It's one of the best looking mechs, I want to say. My favorite mech is the Atlas, personally.
That's a good mech.
Oh yeah. Can't go wrong with an Atlas. Even in like the 20... or the 3100s, it's still like a decent mech. And of course, you know, there's all the different versions of it. The Atlas 2 and the Atlas 3. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think there's another mech that's... I forget the name of it. It was something Kurita made. But that was a mech that was shared a lot of parts with the Atlas and even had like a skull face to it. Somebody might know what that is, but... yeah. It's definitely one of the more iconic mechs of the series, of BattleTech. That and like the Mad Cat, I want to say, the two big ones that people probably recognize. It's also funny when you like, I don't know how many people know this, but if you look at the original Atlas art and you go look up the Scope Dog from Voltoms, it's essentially, you see that it's a retrace of Voltom's art. It's pretty funny, but at the same time, they made it like its own unique thing that eventually evolved into an even more iconic design. So it's just funny to see how they kind of repurpose stuff when it came to BattleTech. And you know, of course, there's all the unseen designs and things, but...
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh, the Warhammer's pretty solid. And yes, that's absolutely true. Artwork is like 90%, you know, borrowing from other people, and then 10% your own twist, you know. And there's nothing wrong with borrowing from other people. It's like that phrase, good artists borrow, great artists steal. It's just, you want to put your own spin on it, obviously. You don't want to just straight up plagiarize. And it's funny, like when I was younger, I didn't want to like copy other people's work because I thought, I didn't want to like look at other people's work for reference because I thought it was copying stuff. But, you know, thankfully I learned that eventually that's like, oh no, that's how you do art. Like, a lot of art is observation based.
Oh, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, the Warhammer's a pretty solid heavy mech. I do like the Warhammer a lot too. The Marauder as well. It's like when it comes to assault mechs, I definitely know my favorite, but when it comes to like other tonnages of mechs, I'm kind of like, oh, there's this one's cool, but then this one's really cool. And actually, now that I mention it, there's also some really cool other assault mechs. Like, I love the Blood Asp. The Blood Asp is fucking horrifying. Oh yeah, look at that. That's looking real nice. The lines are a bit thinner than I was thinking they'd be, but you know, it tends to happen with sketching. Also, shit. I'm at the point when I'm doing drawing where I'm like, what layers do I have? Man, the devil really is in the details when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, any sort of mechanical drawing, that really is the case. Of course, that's part of the fun. All the greebling and such. It's funny, I learned about greebling, the term greebling, because of Legos. Because I guess that's like a huge term when you're building with Lego stuff for if you want to make things like more mechanically. And then I was like, oh, this is just a term that's used all over. But it is kind of funny that's like the first place I heard it. And you might see here I'm kind of switching thicknesses of my pen while I'm doing this. And you can kind of see why, because you want a thinner, you definitely want a thinner line when you're doing detailed work like this, because otherwise it's just going to be a thick mess of just line work and you're not going to be able to tell what stuff is.
Remember that, like, what was it, the Fury Zoid?
The Berserk Fury? Yeah, you know, it's funny, Fury. That's actually one that I looked at a little bit for this. I got into a bit of a Zoid hole last week looking for different head designs. Because at one point I thought about like giving it a mouth that open and close, but then it's like, that'd be kind of a bit gimmicky when it comes to like battle mech design. Because when you see a lot of like mechs with animalistic elements, you know, especially like clan totem mechs. I mean, you look at like the Kodiak, for instance, and you can tell it looks like a bear, but it's also still makes sense as a battle mech, you know, like especially the head design. Thank you, Seven. I very much appreciate hearing that. And I'm hoping to... I don't know if I'll finish this weekend because I'm going to be busy, but definitely hoping to get this done. So I'll absolutely share the final results with stream when I get there. This might end up being... this might even end up being next week's project as well, depending on how things go, because I do want to color it and such. I have some fun ideas for that. Plus, you know, all the detail work I want to do, which that's honestly going to be one of those things where, like, okay, I need to kind of figure out where to cut it at, because you can always add little bits here and there, and then it just turns into a rabbit hole. Yeah, I think most of the little stuff, most of the stuff I want to add now is all like little stuff, so that's good.
Ghibli. Or Gribbly.
Yeah, I was honestly like concerned about figuring out the legs today, so I'm glad we're in a good spot with that. But it looks like we're getting to the end of stream here, so I think this is probably a good place to call it, because otherwise it's just going to be like 2 more minutes of me just nitpicking details. So thank you everybody for joining us on this Tuesday for more drawing.
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
Thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you. I hope people enjoyed. You know, it's not the silliest stream, but I hope people enjoyed me drawing mechs. So, and I think we had some fun conversations. So, hope to see everyone next week. Until then, have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week, and stay weird.